Hey guys, it's Gsluke bringing you guys my top 3 value plays for the DraftKings NBA slate tonight on April 19th. These are going to be 3 of my favorite plays before a lot of the news breaks tonight. It's going to be based on my early research, some of the better games to target, some of the injury situations that we know about ahead of time and whatnot. So hopefully this gives you guys a good idea of some of your targets for later on. So when you're making your lineups, you already have that information banked. So with that being said, let's hop into my targets. My number 3 target for tonight is going to be Xavier Tillman, who is a power forward or center on DraftKings for the Memphis Grizzlies, and he comes in at a price tag of just $3,400, which is obviously part of the reason I really like him tonight. But first and foremost with Tillman, the number one thing I've been liking over the last few weeks has been his consistency. He's consistently seen between 20 and 24 minutes over the last couple of weeks. His usage has crept from about 10% up to about 20% over his last few games. And overall, he seems a lot more comfortable in the Grizzlies offense. His role seems a lot more solidified. People are looking for him more. And overall, I think he's just settling into his role on that team. He's like I said, been very solid with the minutes, very solid with the production. His fantasy points per minute has gone up to about 0.85 per minute, which is great to see. And since he's been averaging, 22 minutes per game, he's seen some pretty good fantasy results as well. So at a price tag of just $3,400, I really like the floor that Tillman presents. We've seen him go for over 30 fantasy points 5 times this year. That's usually when he starts. He sees, closer to 30 minutes, which I don't expect to happen tonight by any means, but I do think that he's a very good piece because of the positional eligibility as well. You can put him at power forward, you can put him at center. He's very cheap, as I said. And another thing to consider is that they're playing the Nuggets tonight. The Nuggets have Nikola Jokic, obviously, and they're going to need a lot of big men to defend Jokic. So that may present a few extra minutes for Tillman tonight because he is pretty stout on defense and does give them some versatility as to where they can play him on the floor. The price tag is the main thing to like here, the consistency as well. Plus, he does have that potential if they do give him some extra playing time to help guard against Jokic. So that's my number 3 value play for tonight. And let's hop into number 2. My number 2 value play for tonight is going to be Frank Jackson, who is a point guard or shooting guard for the Pistons, coming in at $3,200. But another aside here is that it's dependent on who's starting for the Pistons tonight. So I'll throw out Saben Lee as well, who's a point guard for the Pistons, who costs $3,500 tonight. So Dennis Smith Jr. was sidelined last game, and in that absence, we did see Frank Jackson start. So Frank Jackson saw 26 minutes. He scored over 24 fantasy points, which put him in a great position at minimum salary. Saben Lee was somebody that I talked about earlier on the day. He didn't end up getting the start, but in his 15 minutes of play, he did put up 18 fantasy points, which is something we're used to seeing with Lee. He's very good on offense. He's very productive, commands a lot of usage and whatnot, and it's really a toss-up tonight on who gets that start. We've seen Lee get the start in the past. We've seen Jackson get the start, as recent as last night, but Saben Lee really does present that offensive upside, and depending on the matchup that their coach likes tonight, he could really go with, one or the other. So we'll have to wait and see what they announce and whatnot, but whoever starts for the Pistons, I absolutely love tonight. Both players score at more than a 0.9 fantasy point per minute pace. Lee's closer to a 1.05 fantasy point per minute. That's why I like him a little bit more. But again, Frank Jackson's more likely to start. He did last night. And they have a great matchup with the Cavs tonight as well. The Cavs let up a lot of points. They're a relatively high-paced team as well, which means should be plenty of scoring, plenty of assists to go around, plenty of rebounds as well. And overall, it's a good environment for them. It's a good injury environment as well. And like I said, whoever gets the start is going to be a great play tonight. I have each player projected for 25 and a quarter fantasy points tonight if they do get that start, which would make them an absolute rock star value. So with that being said, that's my number 2 fantasy play tonight, and let's get to my number 1 value play. My number 1 value play for tonight is going to be Daniel Gafford, who is a center for the Wizards now, and he's coming in at $4,000. Now, Daniel Gafford is somebody that I've discussed in my last 2 or 3 videos, and that's because he's been absolutely killing it. He's been producing at about a 1.3 fantasy point per minute basis, and while he hasn't seen over 28 minutes in any game, he still provided plenty of value at his price tag. So DraftKings still has him at just $4,000. Again, he was in the $3,000 range just a few games ago. And just last time out, we saw him start in the second half because Alex Len got hurt. Now, Alex Len is a game time decision for tonight, and if he does sit, I do expect Gafford to start and probably play around 30 minutes. Now, if he plays 30 minutes tonight, he's going to be the lock of the century when it comes to fantasy. Even if he has a horrible floor game, puts up like a 0.8 fantasy points per minute kind of thing, he's going to put up 24 fantasy points and put up 6x value. So he's pretty much a lock tonight if he starts. But even if he doesn't, I do expect him to play about 24 minutes, which puts him at puts him at a 29.75 point projection, which is still outstanding. That's still well above that 6x value I was talking about with the floor performance. And again, he's been producing at a very high level. He's been shooting the ball a lot. He's a center. He's been grabbing plenty of rebounds. He's even got some blocks and steals to boot. So I think that just helps his floor. He's not scoring dependent. He's not somebody that has to go out and score 20 points to put up a good performance, has to go out and put a double-double with rebounds. He produces across the board, and I really like that. And again, what I like the most is that potential for him to start tonight. Alex Len is a game-time decision. He didn't see the second half of last game, and that usually doesn't bode well for a player. Usually teams like to rest players, especially towards the end of the year like it is right now. So I do expect Gafford, somebody that's new to the team and somebody they probably want to see some more minutes from to start tonight. And if he does, again, he'll be a lock. He'll be a chalk play if that happens. You'll see everybody start talking about him. But I just wanted to mention him now so that you guys were prepared for later on when the chalk comes out. So those are my top 3 value plays for tonight. Again, I love Gafford, especially because I think Len's going to be sidelined. Frank Jackson or Saben Lee are going to be a great option tonight, given that Dennis Smith Jr. is most likely sidelined as well. And Xavier Tillman, regardless of the situation, that's why I like him so much, will be great tonight. He's not dependent on an injury situation or anything like that. He's kind of carved himself his own role for the Grizzlies. So good luck tonight, guys. Let me know in the comments who you guys are playing, who your favorite value play tonight is, and see you next time.